In a world filled with countless stories of hope and perseverance, there are some tales that leave a mark of deep sorrow and bewilderment. Today, we're diving into one of those stories, a tragic event that shook the nation and raised unsettling questions. This is the story of the Hart family and the mystery of the missing Hart kids. On March 26, 2018, a family road trip took a horrifying turn when the family's SUV was discovered at the bottom of a 100-foot cliff off the Pacific Coast Highway in Mendocino County, California. Inside were the bodies of Jennifer and Sarah Hart and three of their adopted children, Marquise, Abigail, and Jeremiah. The other three children, Devont, Hannah, and Sierra, were initially reported as missing, their bodies not immediately found, adding to the mystery and heartbreak of this tragic incident. The Harts had once appeared to be the picture-perfect family. Jennifer and Sarah, a married couple from Minnesota, adopted 6 children from Texas, two sets of siblings who had faced difficult beginnings. The family was known for their social media presence, often sharing photos of their happy, smiling children at various events and protests. One such image that went viral was of Devont Hart hugging a police officer at a protest in Portland, Oregon during the Ferguson unrest. The image symbolized hope and unity for many, but it masked a darker reality. Jennifer and Sarah Hart were known in their community as advocates for social justice, participating in protests and marches for various causes. Their Facebook pages were filled with pictures of their children participating in these events, often with captions about love, acceptance, and family unity. However, behind the scenes, the reality was far from the idyllic image they portrayed. As investigators delved deeper into the lives of the Harts, disturbing details began to emerge. The children had been subjects of multiple child welfare investigations across several states. Neighbors and acquaintances reported instances of abuse and neglect, with the children allegedly being deprived of food, forced to lie still for extended periods, and subjected to harsh punishments. Despite these allegations, the family managed to move states and avoid significant legal repercussions. In one particularly harrowing account, a former neighbor in Minnesota recalled seeing the children being forced to march around their home for hours as a punishment. Another neighbor reported that the children appeared unusually small for their ages and often seemed hungry. Despite these red flags, the family continued to move, evading deeper scrutiny from child welfare services. The final weeks leading up to the tragic plunge were particularly telling. Reports surfaced that the children had been seen asking neighbors for food, claiming they were being starved. One neighbor recounted a chilling encounter with Devont, who came to her door asking for food and revealing the dire conditions at home. Despite these cries for help, the system failed to intervene in time. Just days before the fatal crash, Child Protective Services (CPS) attempted to visit the Hart home in response to these reports, but no one answered the door. This visit, coupled with the accounts of neighbors, painted a picture of a family in crisis. The Harts' decision to leave their home in Woodland, Washington, seemed to be a desperate attempt to flee from the growing scrutiny. The fatal journey began abruptly. Without warning, Jennifer and Sarah packed up their children and left their home in Woodland, Washington. Their destination was unknown and their intentions were unclear. However, the route they took led them down the Pacific Coast Highway, a scenic but treacherous road known for its sharp turns and steep cliffs. The crash site itself was puzzling. The SUV appeared to have accelerated off the cliff, leading investigators to suspect foul play rather than an accident. A search of the family's home revealed that they had left behind their pets and many personal belongings, suggesting that the trip was not planned as a return journey. Further examination of the vehicle's black box data confirmed investigators' worst fears. It indicated that the car had stopped at a scenic pullout before suddenly accelerating off the edge, leading to the conclusion that Jennifer Hart, who was driving, had intentionally driven the car off the cliff. Toxicology reports later revealed that both Jennifer and Sarah had significant amounts of alcohol in their systems, and Jennifer was over the legal limit to drive. The children, too, had traces of a sedative in their systems, leading to the heartbreaking theory that Jennifer and Sarah had drugged the children before the fatal plunge. The search for the missing children continued for weeks. Initially, the bodies of Marquise, Abigail, and Jeremiah were found in the vehicle, while Devont, Hannah, and Sierra were missing. As search efforts intensified, divers and rescue teams scoured the rugged coastline and nearby waters for any signs of the missing children. Weeks later, the body of Sierra was discovered in the ocean, confirming the tragic fate of one more heart child. The search for Devont and Hannah continued, with teams combing the shoreline and using sonar equipment to scan the depths. Eventually, partial remains believed to be those of Hannah were found, further cementing the grim reality that none of the children had survived. This case leaves us with many haunting questions. How did such a seemingly loving family end up in such a tragic and deadly situation? Why did the warning signs and cries for help from the children go unheeded by authorities? And what drove Jennifer and Sarah Hart to such a desperate and final act? The Hart family tragedy is a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and intervention in cases of suspected child abuse and neglect. It's a story that forces us to reflect on the failures of the system and the unseen struggles that some families face behind closed doors. As we remember the lives of Marquise, Abigail, Jeremiah, Devont, Hannah, and Sierra, we must also strive to ensure that their deaths were not in vain, advocating for better protection and support for vulnerable children everywhere. In the end, the Hart family tragedy is not just a story of a fatal plunge off a cliff. It's a story of missed opportunities, unheeded warnings, and the desperate need for systemic change. We owe it to the memory of those six children to learn from this tragedy and work towards a world where such a heartbreaking end can be prevented. The case of the Hart family is a chilling reminder that the face of abuse can often be hidden behind a facade of normalcy and even activism. Jennifer and Sarah Hart were seen by many as loving, committed parents and social justice warriors. Yet, behind closed doors, their children suffered unimaginable neglect and abuse. This stark contrast between public perception and private reality underscores the complexities and challenges in identifying and addressing child abuse. As we reflect on this case, it's essential to consider the broader implications. Child protective services and similar agencies are often overburdened and under-resourced, making it difficult to respond effectively to every report of abuse or neglect. This tragic outcome highlights the need for better funding, training, and systemic reforms to ensure that vulnerable children do not slip through the cracks. Moreover, the story of the Hart family underscores the importance of community vigilance. Neighbors and acquaintances had observed signs of distress and potential abuse, but either did not know how to respond or were met with a system that failed to act decisively. Community members must feel empowered and educated on how to recognize and report suspected abuse, and authorities must respond swiftly and thoroughly to such reports. In remembering the Hart children, we must also acknowledge the importance of mental health support for families. Jennifer and Sarah Hart's actions suggest a potential mental health crisis that went unaddressed. Providing accessible mental health resources for parents and caregivers could be a crucial step in preventing similar tragedies. This case also brings to light the need for comprehensive follow-up and support for adoptive families. The Hart children were adopted from the foster care system, a transition that can come with its own set of challenges. Ensuring that adoptive families receive ongoing support and resources can help address any underlying issues and promote a healthy, nurturing environment for adopted children. As we conclude this deep dive into the tragic case of the Hart family, let us remember the six innocent lives lost. Marquise, Abigail, Jeremiah, Devont, Hannah, and Sierra deserved a life filled with love, safety, and opportunity. Their story is a somber reminder of the work that remains to be done to protect vulnerable children and support families in crisis. Thank you for joining us in exploring this heart-wrenching case. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth true crime stories. And remember, always stay vigilant and speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Together, we can work towards a world where every child is safe and supported.